For a business to become digital, it needs to essentially embrace the fact that the customer is in charge, the employees are in charge, and therefore take a more relationship-based approach to how it engages with its staff and its customers. Customers need experiences, so organizations need to move beyond products and even beyond services and into experiences. And those experiences are increasingly have a digital interface, if you like. So moving into a digital digital business model in effect means having a good digital experience for the customers and the staff, but it also means having a kind of cultural attitude of sharing, working together, making decisions quicker. So that means decentralizing the leadership so that people on the ground can actually make decisions rather than having to ask their manager's manager and therefore lose the opportunity because of the time it takes. So a digital business is going to be underpinned by technologies that promotes collaboration, promotes generating insight from data as well. And if you like, doesn't just see the customer in terms of transaction, but sees the journey that the customer is on from being a prospect right through to being an advocate of the business. Who should drive the business in terms of making it digital? Ultimately, it's the CEO that should take responsibility for this. But for the CEO to be a digital leader, they have to understand digital, they have to understand the anthropological changes taking place and the technology trends that are taking place. So step one for an organization would be to have at least some digital expertise in the boardroom. So I would suggest the CIO. Some organizations are looking at their CIO and thinking, no, he or she is more of an IT manager, so let's appoint a chief digital officer. And that for me is, well, basically the job needs to be done. Who does it is a detail for the CEO. But I do feel the CDO, the chief digital officer, is probably a temporary role. But in any case, we need to have somebody in the boardroom that understands both the digital, the front end, and the back end as well. So for me, the CIO is that person. But over time, everybody in the boardroom needs to be a digital leader, because digital leader and leader will become one and the same thing. When it comes to deciding what businesses are best should make the move first in terms of digital, we'll take Kodak, for example. Kodak invented the digital camera, but it was so in love with its industrial model that it didn't cannibalize its business, and therefore it went out of business. So the big challenge for organizations is to look at their existing business model and say, yes, it's still pretty good, but our margins are eroding because of global competition or just new players coming into the market. So smart organizations will, if you like, start to cannibalize their own business, because it's better that they do it and reinvent their business before it's done to them. So for example, 10 or so years ago, the guys in Silicon Valley would be creating new technologies and inviting business leaders down to buy them lunch and to say, you know, please buy our products. Now the Silicon Valley whiz kids are focused on disrupting markets, and the CEOs are now the lunch. So we're seeing a move from disruptive technologies to disrupted industries. Cannibalizing your business is something that has to be done, but if you can get around this by perhaps creating a 2.0 version of your business. So your traditional business might run very well for another year, another 10 years, and given that that is providing cash flow, you shouldn't really break that and hope that your new model generates cash flow. So the best thing to do is to create a version 2 of your business and grow that version 2 as you become more comfortably digitally. And the version 2 is not just using new technologies, but it's actually having new staff with a different cultural outlook that's more appropriate to a creative business model. And over time, the creative people in the old business model will transition across. And those that don't transition across will have a lot more free time on their hands. But whether that happens next week, next year, or in 10 years, that's the gamble. So I wouldn't wait till your business collapses before you start creating the digital version of it. I would start immediately.